I took the night shift job at Clearwater Rehab because I needed the money. My student loans weren't going to pay themselves, and working with addicts recovering from pills and booze seemed easy enough. Just walk the halls, make sure nobody hurts themselves, file reports. The place sat on the edge of Louisville, right where the city lights fade into darkness, in an old building that used to be a tuberculosis hospital back in the 1940s. My supervisor, Nurse Hallie, had been there for 30 years, and when she smiled at me during my first shift, I noticed her teeth were too white, too perfect, like dentures that didn't quite fit right. The building squatted on Dixie Highway past the old GE appliance park, where the streetlights gave up and the Ohio River fog crept in thick most nights. During my orientation, Hallie walked me through hallways that smelled like bleach trying to cover something older, something that had soaked into the walls decades ago. She told me about the protocols, the medication schedules, the importance of staying in designated areas. "We have 38 patients currently," she said, her voice flat as week-old coffee. "Most are here for opioids. Fentanyl, mostly. Some alcohol. A few meth cases from down in the South End." I nodded, taking notes on my phone, trying to look professional. This was my first real psychiatric job since graduating from U of L's nursing program. The pay was decent, better than anything at Norton or Baptist Health East, and night shifts meant fewer supervisors breathing down my neck. On my third night, I found a patient named Marcus standing in the hallway at 3 a.m., perfectly still, staring at nothing. When I asked if he was okay, he turned to me with tears streaming down his face and whispered, "They're not helping us get clean. They're keeping us sick on purpose. And when we're ready, they take us downstairs." Then he walked back to his room like a puppet on strings. I should have written it up as a mental health episode, should have logged it in the incident report. Instead, I went to the staff break room and pulled out the facility blueprints from the filing cabinet. The building was 3 stories, ground floor with the intake area and common rooms, second floor with patient rooms, third floor with offices and storage. That was it. I checked the facility map the next morning. According to every blueprint and floor plan, Clearwater Rehab doesn't have a downstairs. But when I pressed my palm against the floor in the East Wing hallway, I felt vibration, steady, rhythmic, like machinery running somewhere beneath my feet. And late that night, when the building settled into its 2 a.m. quiet, I heard it. A low hum rising through the foundation, accompanied by something that might have been voices, might have been ventilation, might have been nothing at all. Nurse Hallie found me standing there, listening. "First week's always the hardest," she said, those 2 perfect teeth catching the overhead light. "You'll get used to the sounds." The rules came on my 4th night. Hallie handed me a laminated card during the shift briefing, the kind you'd get at a restaurant explaining how to perform the Heimlich maneuver. Except this one had 7 protocols typed in that old-school courier font. The letters slightly faded like it had been copied and recopied for years. "These aren't suggestions," Hallie said. She wasn't smiling anymore. Previous night staff who ignored them didn't last long. I read through them while she watched. "Never enter the East Wing basement door. It's been sealed since 1952 for structural reasons. If a patient has been here longer than 6 months, do not trust their advice about the facility. Lock your office door between 2 and 4 a.m., even if you hear knocking. Do not accept food or drink from patients, regardless of how friendly they seem. If you smell copper and formaldehyde together, leave that area immediately and report to the nurses' station. Never go into a patient's room alone after midnight. Always bring a staff member. If you see staff members you don't recognize wearing outdated uniforms, do not make eye contact. "What's the East Wing basement door?" I asked. "I thought there was no basement." Hallie's jaw tightened. "There isn't. That's why you don't go looking for it." She left me at the nurse's station with a cup of gas station coffee and a log book that needed updating. The night stretched ahead like a dark highway with no exits. I tried to focus on charting, updating patient medication times, noting behavioral observations from the evening shift. But my mind kept circling back to Marcus and what he'd said about downstairs. Around 11, I did my first hall check. The second-floor patient rooms had those old-fashioned doors with the small wire-reinforced windows, the kind that turned faces into distorted shapes when you looked through them. Most patients were asleep, or at least in their beds, but in room 212, I saw someone sitting upright, facing the wall. I knocked gently. "Everything okay in there?" The figure didn't move. Through the small window, I could make out long dark hair, a thin frame in a standard issue gray sweatshirt. Female patient, probably mid-30s. I checked my roster. Room 212 belonged to someone named Angela Pittman, admitted 4 weeks ago for heroin addiction. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, forgetting Rule 6 immediately. Angela sat cross-legged on her bed, facing the pale green wall. Her breathing was even, rhythmic, almost mechanical. On the wall in front of her, she'd drawn something with what looked like a pencil or pen, a series of interconnected circles and lines forming a pattern I couldn't quite make sense of. "Angela? It's late. You should try to get some rest." She turned her head slowly, and I saw that her eyes were open but unfocused, pupils wide as dimes. "Do you hear them singing?" she whispered. "Down below. They've been singing since 1949. They're so hungry." "Angela, when's the last time you took your medication?" "Medication doesn't help." She smiled, and I noticed her teeth. Some were missing. Others were brown at the roots. "Medication is what they want. Keeps us right where we need to be. Not too healthy, not too sick, just perfect for the harvest." I backed toward the door, keeping my voice calm. "I'm going to get Nurse Hallie, okay? She'll help you feel better." "She can't feel anything anymore," Angela said, turning back to her wall drawing. "None of them can. They traded their insides for the recipe. You'll understand soon. You've got the smell on you. That's why they hired you." I left the room, locked the door, and walked quickly back to the nurse's station. My hands were shaking as I reached for the phone to call Hallie's extension. That's when I noticed the filing cabinet in the corner, the same one I'd found the blueprints in. The bottom drawer was slightly open, and inside I could see a stack of personnel files. I shouldn't have looked. Rule number 3 was still hours away, and I was already breaking protocols left and right. But something about what Angela said, "You've got the smell on you," made me want to know what was in my own file. I found it near the back. My name, my U of L transcript, my nursing license verification. And then, paper clipped to the inside cover, a single sheet with a handwritten note in faded blue ink. "History of opioid dependency. Recovered. Perfect candidate for Phase 2 integration. Approved for night shift placement." The phone rang, making me jump. I slammed the drawer shut and grabbed the receiver. "This is Station 4, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's midnight." Hallie's voice came through flat, empty. "Time for your East Wing rounds. And remember, stay out of areas that don't exist." She hung up before I could respond. If you like the stories, please hype the videos from a button like this just above the comment section. It helps the videos to get more reach and perform well. It would take just a few seconds and cost nothing, but would help the channel grow even faster. Thank you. The East Wing smelled different than the rest of Clearwater. What While the main building reeked of industrial cleaner and cafeteria food, the east wing carried something older underneath. Damp concrete, rust, and a sweet, sick odor that reminded me of the basement in my grandmother's house in old Louisville, where she kept her canning jars and the walls grew black mold in summer. I walked slowly, my flashlight cutting through the dim emergency lighting. This section had been patient rooms once, according to the faded signs still mounted on doors. Now most were converted to storage, linens, cleaning supplies, broken furniture waiting for maintenance that never came. My footsteps echoed too loud in the empty corridor. Halfway down the hall, I found Marcus. He stood in front of a supply closet door, his forehead pressed against the wood, hands flat on either side of his head. He wore the standard patient uniform, gray sweatpants, white t-shirt, but his feet were bare, and I could see dirt caked under his toenails. Marcus. I kept my distance, remembering Rule 6. You're supposed to be in your room. Listen, he whispered without moving. Put your ear against the door. You'll hear them working. Hear who working? The staff who went downstairs and never came back up. They're still here. They just don't remember their names anymore. He turned to look at me, and in the weak light I saw that his lips were cracked and bleeding, like he'd been chewing them raw. You found your file, didn't you? You know why they picked you. How did you? Because they told me the same thing when I got here 8 months ago. He smiled, showing teeth stained brown at the gums. I was a welder at Ford's Louisville assembly plant. Got hooked on pain pills after I broke my back falling off a scaffold. Came here to get clean, but they don't want us clean. They want us sick in just the right way. That's the addiction talking, Marcus. The facility is here to help. Then why do they move us at night? His voice rose. Why do patients disappear from their rooms after 6 months and come back different? Why does Jenny Kowalski work the 3rd floor now when she was a patient last year? I froze. Who's Jenny Kowalski? You'll meet her. Marcus turned back to the door, pressing his ear against it. She's one of them now. Traded her insides for the formula. You can tell by the teeth. They all get those perfect white teeth after the conversion. Hallie, Dr. Brighton, Tom from maintenance. All of them used to be patients. A sound came from behind the door. Faint, rhythmic, like machinery running or breathing. I stepped closer despite myself, drawn by a horrible curiosity. Don't, Marcus said. Rule 5. You smell it? I did. Copper and formaldehyde mixing together in the stale air. That's the harvest smell, he continued. Means they're processing someone right now, extracting what they need. The pharmaceutical companies pay millions for it. Pure concentrated suffering, bottled and refined. Makes every addiction medication on the market look like aspirin. I backed away from the door, my head spinning. This was madness. Paranoid delusions brought on by withdrawal and institutional stress. I'd learned about this in school. Patients creating elaborate conspiracy theories to explain their suffering, to make sense of why recovery felt so hard. But then why could I smell the copper? Why had my file mentioned Phase 2? I need to get you back to your room, I said, reaching for my radio. Marcus grabbed my wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. Don't call them. Once you call them, they know you know. They'll move up your timeline. Let go of me. 3rd door on the left, he said, releasing my arm. The East Wing basement entrance. It's behind the old linen shelves. They tell everyone it's sealed, that there is no basement, but it's down there. The body chute from the TB hospital days. That's where they take us. Before I could respond, footsteps echoed down the corridor. Hallie appeared, moving with that odd, smooth gait, that reminded me of someone walking on a ship's deck, constantly adjusting for movement I couldn't perceive. "Marcus, it's past curfew." She smiled with those perfect teeth. "Let's get you back to bed." "I was just talking to our new night nurse," Marcus said. His whole demeanor changed, shoulders slumping, voice going soft and compliant. "Sorry, lost track of time." Hallie took his arm gently, guiding him past me. As they walked away, she looked back over her shoulder. "The East Wing rounds are complete. You can return to the station now." "I haven't checked the last 3 rooms." "They're empty. Have been for weeks. No need to waste time." Her smile never wavered. "Why don't you take your break?" "There's fresh coffee in the break room. I made it myself." Rule 4. Do not accept food or drink from patients. But Hallie wasn't a patient. Was she? I watched them disappear around the corner, then turned to the door Marcus had been listening to. "Third door on the left," he'd said. This was the 4th door, which meant the room I was looking for was 3 doors back, near the intersection where I'd entered the East Wing. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Don't go in the basement. They're waiting for you to break that rule." -M. I walked back down the corridor, counting doors. 1, 2, 3. The door was unmarked, gray paint peeling near the handle. I tried the knob, locked. Through the gap at the bottom, I felt cool air rising, carrying that copper formaldehyde smell stronger than before. Behind me, something scraped against linoleum. I spun around, flashlight up. The corridor was empty. But at the far end, where it turned toward the main building, I saw a figure standing in shadow. They wore what looked like an old nurse's uniform, the kind from the 1940s or 50s, with the white cap and cape. As I stared, the figure stepped back around the corner and vanished. Rule 7. If you see staff members you don't recognize wearing outdated uniforms, do not make eye contact. I'd already looked directly at them. My radio crackled to life. "Night nurse to Station 4. Please respond." Hallie's voice, but different now, layered, like multiple people speaking in unison. I grabbed my radio. "Station 4 responding. I'm finishing rounds." "That's good. But you should know. We just had a patient admit themselves voluntarily. They're waiting in intake. Said they specifically requested you as their primary care nurse." A pause. "Name's on file as Jamie Dawson. Says you two know each other from before." Jamie Dawson was my ex-boyfriend, the one who'd gotten me hooked on Oxy 3 years ago, the one I'd cut out of my life when I finally got clean. I hadn't seen him since 2021. "I'll be right there," I said. "Oh, and one more thing." Hallie's voice dropped lower. "It's almost 2 a.m. Remember to lock your office door. You'll want to be somewhere safe when the harvest bell rings." The radio went dead. Somewhere in the building, deep below where I stood, a bell began to toll. I ran toward the intake area, the bell still tolling somewhere beneath my feet. The sound wasn't coming through speakers or from any visible source. It rose through the floor itself, vibrating in my bones like a tuning fork pressed against my ribs. The intake area sat at the front of the building, a reception desk and 3 chairs arranged around a fake ficus tree that had accumulated 5 years of dust. Jamie sat in the middle chair, head down, hands folded in his lap. He looked thinner than I remembered, his U of L Cardinals hoodie hanging loose on his frame. "Jamie?" I stayed near the doorway, one hand on my radio. "What are you doing here?" He looked up, and I saw that his face had changed. The cheekbones jutted sharper, the skin stretched tight and waxy. His eyes had that same unfocused quality I'd seen in Angela's room. pupils blown wide despite the bright fluorescent lighting. "Hey, Sam." His voice sounded hollow, like he was speaking from the bottom of a well. "I heard you were working here. Thought it was time I got clean for real this time. You can't just show up in the middle of the night. Intake happens during business hours. They told me to come now." He stood up slowly, and I noticed his hands trembling. "Said you'd be expecting me. Said we could help each other through this." "Who told you?" "The people who called me. From the facility." He took a step closer, and I caught a whiff of something sweet and rotten on his breath. "They knew all about us. About what we used to do together. The pills we'd score from that guy on Bardstown Road. The time we broke into your mom's medicine cabinet after her surgery. Nobody knew about that. I'd buried those memories so deep, I'd almost convinced myself they belonged to someone else." "Jamie, you need to leave. This isn't a good place. But it's perfect for people like us." Another step. "That's what the woman on the phone said. Dr. Brighton. She said Clearwater specializes in cases like ours. People who've tried to get clean but can't quite shake it. People who still wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about how good it felt." The bell stopped tolling. In the sudden silence, I heard other sounds. Footsteps above us on the second floor. The hydraulic hiss of doors opening and closing, wheels rolling across tile. The harvest, whatever it was, had begun. "I need to lock my office," I said, checking my watch. 1:58 a.m. "You'll have to wait here until morning shift. They won't let you lock it." Jamie's smile spread too wide. "Not until you've seen what you need to see. That's how it works. They showed me on the phone, sent me pictures of what happens down there, of what they collect and how they use it." My hand found the door handle behind me. "What did they show you?" "The truth about suffering." He reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen cracked, but still glowing. "Want to see? It's beautiful in a way. What they've figured out how to do with human pain." I should have run. Should have triggered the emergency alert and called the police. Instead, I looked at the phone he held out to me. The image showed a room with concrete walls and old surgical lighting. The kind with articulated arms and round reflectors. In the center sat a modified dentist's chair, restraints at the arms and legs. Tubes ran from the chair to what looked like an old dialysis machine, but wrong somehow. The filters too large and connected to glass containers filled with dark amber liquid. In the chair sat a person, or what used to be a person. I could see their mouth open, jaw stretched wider than physics should allow, and from that opening came not screams but something else, something the camera captured as a shimmer in the air, like heat rising from summer asphalt. "That's the harvest," Jamie said softly. "They keep patients at exactly the right level of dependency, not withdrawing, not high, just that perfect state of wanting, and when the wanting gets strong enough, concentrated enough, they extract it. It crystallizes into something pharmaceutical companies pay millions for. The perfect addiction drug. Makes people crave it without understanding why." I dropped the phone. It clattered on the tile floor, screen going dark. "You're lying. That's Photoshop. That's..." "Ward D," he interrupted. "That's what they called the TB ward, where they sent the patients who were too far gone, the ones they knew would die. Back in 1949, the hospital administration was experimenting with new treatments, ways to manage pain, suffering. They discovered something down there in Ward D, something about human chemistry when it's pushed to certain extremes." The lights flickered. For a moment I saw something behind Jamie, a shadow that didn't match his body, too tall and angular, with too many limbs. Then the light stabilized and it was gone. "They brought the research with them when the hospital closed," he continued. "The people who'd been running Ward D, they knew what they'd found was valuable. So they reopened the building as a rehab center. Perfect cover. Steady supply of patients already suffering, already dependent, already in that chemical state they needed. Stop! My voice came out as a whisper. Just stop. I can't. He laughed, a wet sound like something breaking in his throat. That's the thing, Sam. Once you know, you can't stop knowing, and they're going to make sure you understand completely before they offer you the choice. What choice? To be harvested or to become a harvester. He tilted his head and I heard his neck vertebrae pop one by one. The staff you see, Hallie, Dr. Brighton, all of them. They were patients once, but they survived the process, traded their capacity for feeling anything real in exchange for the formula. Now they maintain the operation, bring in new patients, keep the cycle going. Footsteps approached from the hallway behind me. I spun around and saw Nurse Hallie, but she wasn't alone. 3 other staff members walked with her, all wearing those perfect smiles. Behind them, being wheeled on a gurney, was Marcus. He was strapped down, eyes wide and aware, mouth moving but making no sound. Time for your office lockdown, Hallie said pleasantly. But first we should discuss your patient assignment. Jamie here will need special care during his intake process. I'm not staying, I said. I quit. I'm leaving right now. Oh, but you can't. She gestured, and one of the other staff members pulled something from a medical cart, a syringe filled with clear liquid. Your contract includes a mandatory 6-month commitment. Leaving before that violates the terms. Besides, we've already started your integration. What are you talking about? Hallie reached into her pocket and pulled out a small amber pill bottle. My prescription bottle, the one I kept in my apartment nightstand, the one I told myself was just emergency backup, just in case the cravings got too bad. You took one 3 days before you applied here, she said, and 2 more the night before your first shift. We could smell it in your sweat. That's how we knew you were ready. My knees went weak. She was right. I had taken them, had convinced myself it was just to calm my nerves, just to get through the stress of a new job. The medication makes you receptive, Hallie continued. Opens up the neurochemical pathways we need to access. By now, it's already bonding to your receptors. In another few hours, you'll start to feel the pull, the want. And that's when we take you downstairs for your first extraction. Marcus thrashed on the gurney, straps cutting into his wrists. Blood ran down his arms from where the restraints had broken skin. Please, I whispered. Let me go. I won't tell anyone. But you'll want to come back. Hallie's smile widened. That's the beauty of it. Once we extract from you, once you feel what it's like to have that wanting sucked out and processed and returned as pure chemical bliss, you'll never want to be anywhere else. The clock on the wall ticked over to 2 a.m. Time to lock yourself in, she said. Rule 3, remember? Though I should mention, the office you've been using isn't the safe one. Your real office is downstairs. We'll come get you when you're ready. They wheeled Marcus past me, his eyes locked on mine, mouth forming words I couldn't hear, but somehow understood. Run, run, run. I turned and sprinted for the exit. The front doors were locked. Not just locked, welded shut, I realized as I grabbed the handles and pulled. Someone had sealed them from the outside, the metal warped and fused together. Through the reinforced glass, I could see Dixie Highway stretching empty in both directions, streetlights casting orange pools on wet asphalt. My car sat in the parking lot 30 feet away. Might as well have been 30 miles. I heard wheels squeaking behind me. They were bringing more gurneys, more patients for the harvest, the emergency exit. Every building had to have 1 by fire code. I ran toward the east wing, remembering a door marked with a glowing exit sign near the storage area. My shoes slapped against tile, the sound echoing off walls that seemed to press closer with each step. Behind me, Hallie's voice echoed through the intercom system. Lockdown procedures in effect. All patients to designated rooms. All staff to extraction stations. I reached the emergency door and slammed into the push bar. It didn't budge. I hit it again, throwing my full weight against it. Nothing. The door had been sealed too, though not with welding. Someone had filled the lock mechanism with what looked like dental cement. The same stuff they'd used to set a crown. That's not going to work. Angela stood in the hallway behind me, barefoot, wearing that gray sweatshirt. Her wall drawings covered her arms now, the same interconnected circles and lines spiraling from her wrists to her elbows. She'd drawn them in her own blood. They sealed all the exits 3 days ago, when they knew you were coming. There has to be another way out. There is. She moved closer, and I saw that her teeth were starting to rot, brown spreading from the gums like decay in time lapse. Through the body chute, the original exit from Ward D. They used it to move corpses out without upsetting the living patients. Dumps out near the river, behind the old loading dock. Where's the entrance? Third door on the left in the east wing. Marcus tried to tell you. She smiled, blood on her lips. But you'll need a key card. The staff carry them. I've been here 7 months, and I've seen where they take people who go down there unwillingly. It's worse than the harvest. They use them for the refinement process. My mind raced. Hallie had a key card. I'd seen it clipped to her belt. But there was no way I could get close to her now. Tom from maintenance has one too, Angela said, reading my thoughts. He's usually in the basement level working on the machines. If you can find him before they find you, maybe you can get it. You said there was no basement. I said that's what they tell people. She reached out and grabbed my wrist, her fingers cold and dry as paper. Listen to me. When they convert you, when they complete the process, you don't die. You just stop being able to feel anything except the want. Everything else goes numb. I can feel it starting already. In another month, I'll be just like Hallie. Just like all of them. Perfect teeth and empty insides. Come with me, I said. We'll both get out. I can't. They've already started my integration. I'm too far gone. She released my wrist and turned away. Room 127. That's where the basement access is. Tom usually works between midnight and 4. He used to be a patient too. Came here for alcohol dependency after his daughter died in a car crash on the IE-64. Now he just maintains the equipment and doesn't remember her name. She walked back toward her room, leaving bloody footprints on the tile. I made my way to room 127, moving as quietly as possible. The building had gone strange and quiet, that 2 a.m. silence that feels like being underwater. I could hear my own heartbeat, the rush of blood in my ears, the small sounds of my breathing. Room 127's door hung open. Inside, what had once been a patient room had been converted into a maintenance access point. The hospital bed was gone, replaced by exposed pipes, electrical panels, and a metal hatch set into the floor. A ladder led down into darkness. I pulled out my phone for the flashlight and started climbing down. The ladder went deeper than it should have, rung after rung into earth that smelled like river mud and old death. My arms were shaking by the time my feet hit solid ground. The flashlight beam cut through absolute darkness, revealing a tunnel carved through limestone and clay. Support beams from the 1940s still held up the ceiling, wood gone black with moisture and age. This was the body chute, the passage they'd used to remove corpses from Ward D without wheeling them through the hospital where living patients could see. I'd read about places like this. Tuberculosis sanitariums built when the disease was still a death sentence, when hope was just a word doctors used to keep patients compliant while they died by inches. But this tunnel had been modified. New electrical lines ran along the walls, feeding industrial lighting that cast everything in sickly yellow. The floor had been poured with fresh concrete, smooth and level. And the walls, someone had mounted dozens of photographs, framed and evenly spaced like a gallery. I stopped in front of the first one, a black and white image from the 1940s showing doctors in surgical masks standing around a patient strapped to a table. The patient's mouth was open, and possibly wide, and something dark was being extracted with what looked like a vacuum device. The next photo was from the 1950s. Color now, but faded. More patients, more extraction equipment, this time more sophisticated. The photos continued, decade by decade. The equipment evolved, the techniques refined. But the patient's expressions never changed. That look of wanting, of needing, of suffering, concentrated into something almost visible. The most recent photo was dated 6 months ago. Marcus, strapped in that modified dentist's chair, eyes rolled back, mouth stretched open. Standing beside him, holding a collection vial filled with amber liquid, was Nurse Howie. I heard footsteps above me, multiple people moving through room 127. "She went down," someone said. Dr. Brighton's voice, clinical and empty. "Tom, go fetch her. Use the gentle approach. She's worth more if she comes willingly." I ran deeper into the tunnel, my flashlight bouncing wild shadows on the walls. The passage curved, following what must have been the original body chute path. Photos blurred past, decades of suffering, organized and documented like a scientific journal. The tunnel opened into a larger space, and I stumbled to a stop. More D. The original extraction room, preserved exactly as it had been 75 years ago. Surgical tables lined up in rows. Ancient equipment still connected to power sources, jury-rigged with modern batteries and updated electronics. And on the walls, written in what looked like dried blood, were formulas. Chemical equations showing how to process and refine human suffering into something pharmaceutical companies would kill for. In the center of the room stood a man in maintenance coveralls. Tom. He was adjusting something on one of the machines, his movements slow and careful. When he heard me, he turned around, and I saw that half his face had been burned away. Not by fire, but by chemical exposure. The skin on the left side hung in melted sheets, and through the damage, I could see teeth that were perfect, white, and artificial. "You're not supposed to be here yet," he said. His voice came out wrong, whistling through the ruined parts of his face. "Your first extraction isn't scheduled until tomorrow night. Dr. Brighton likes new subjects to marinate in the fear for at least 24 hours. Makes the extract more potent." "I need your key card," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need to leave." "Can't do that." He took a step closer, and I saw that his right hand held a modified cattle prod, the kind that would deliver a shock strong enough to disable, but not kill. "Besides, where would you go? You took the medication. It's in your system now. In 3 days, you'll be back here begging us to take the wanting away." "I'll detox. I'll check myself into a real hospital, and they'll send you right back here." He smiled with those false teeth. "Clearwater has contracts with every hospital in Louisville. Norton, Baptist East, Jewish, U of L. Any addict who comes through showing the right neurochemical markers gets referred here. We've been running this program for 30 years. Thousands of patients. Millions in pharmaceutical profits." He raised the cattle prod. "Now, are you going to come quietly, or do I need to drag you to the extraction chair?" I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, an old surgical tray, and threw it at his face. He blocked it easily, but it bought me a second to run. I sprinted past him, deeper into Ward D, looking for the exit Angela had mentioned, the loading dock, the river. Behind me, Tom's footsteps echoed, steady and patient. He wasn't hurrying. He knew I had nowhere to go. Then I saw it. A door at the far end of the ward, rusted metal with a faded exit sign. I ran for it, grabbed the handle, pulled. It opened, cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of the Ohio River, petroleum and mud and freedom. I could see the loading dock, the concrete ramp leading down to where delivery trucks used to park. Beyond that, trees and darkness and the distant lights of the city. I ran. I made it 50 feet before I realized something was wrong. The loading dock should have led to the parking lot, to Dixie Highway, to civilization. Instead, I found myself in a wooded area I didn't recognize, dense trees blocking out most of the moonlight. The Ohio River should have been close. I could smell it, hear water moving somewhere in the darkness, but every direction looked the same. Identical trees, identical shadows. I pulled out my phone. No signal. The screen showed 2:47 a.m., but when I tried to open maps, the app froze and crashed. I tried again. Same result. It was like the phone knew I was trying to leave and refused to help. Something rustled in the underbrush to my left. I spun around, flashlight sweeping across tree trunks and dead leaves. Nothing. But I could feel eyes on me, watching from the darkness between the branches. I started moving again, trying to keep the building behind me, trying to find a road or path or anything that would lead away from this place. That's when I saw the others. They stood among the trees, perfectly still, wearing patient uniforms. 7 or 8 of them, spaced out like sentries, their faces blank and eyes reflecting my flashlight like animals. None of them moved. None of them spoke. They just watched as I stumbled past, branches catching at my clothes and hair. One of them was Marcus. I recognized his face even though something about his posture had changed, something about the way he held his head cocked at that angle. His mouth hung open slightly, and I could see that his teeth were gone. All of them. Just empty gums, pink and wet in the flashlight beam. "Marcus," I whispered. He blinked slowly, 3 times, then raised one hand and pointed back toward Clearwater, back toward the body chute entrance. His finger didn't waver. "I can't go back there." He pointed again, more insistent this time, and I saw that his fingernails had been removed. The beds oozed something clear and viscous. Behind him, the other patients began to move, closing in slowly, forming a semicircle that would funnel me back the way I'd come. I ran. Branches slashed at my face as I crashed through undergrowth, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The trees seemed to shift and move, creating barriers where none had been moments before. I could hear the patients following, their footsteps synchronized, moving together like a single organism. The ground dropped away beneath me without warning. I tumbled down a slope, rocks and roots tearing at my skin, and landed hard at the bottom. Pain shot through my ankle. When I tried to stand, it buckled, and I fell back against cold stone. Stone. I was in some kind of drainage culvert, concrete walls covered in moss and graffiti. Water trickled past my feet, carrying trash and leaves toward an opening 20 yards ahead. I could see streetlights through the gap, real streetlights. The city. I crawled toward the opening, dragging my injured ankle, leaving the trail in the shallow water. The patients appeared at the top of the slope behind me, looking down. They didn't follow. They just watched as I pulled myself forward, inch by inch, toward freedom. The culvert opened onto a maintenance road behind an industrial park. I recognized this place, the old Philip Morris plant off Strawberry Lane, shut down years ago but never demolished. My car was miles away, but I could see houses in the distance, lights and windows, proof that normal life still existed somewhere beyond Clearwater's reach. I limped toward the nearest house, a small ranch-style home with a blue Honda Accord in the driveway and a porch light burning. I pounded on the door, not caring how I looked, not caring about the blood and dirt covering my scrubs. "Please," I shouted, "I need help. I need to call the police." The door opened. A woman in her 60s stood there, wearing a bathrobe, concern on her face. "My God, what happened to you? I need to use your phone. I need to." I stopped. Behind her, on the kitchen counter, I saw an amber pill bottle. Then another. Then another. 5 bottles lined up in a neat row, all the same pharmaceutical orange, all labeled with names I recognized from Clearwater's patient roster. The woman followed my gaze and smiled. Her teeth were perfect, white, artificial. "You're Sam, aren't you?" She stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter. "Dr. Brighton called and said you might end up in this area. Come in, you must be exhausted." I backed away from the door, my injured ankles screaming, "Who are you?" "I'm part of the outreach program." She followed me onto the porch, moving with that same smooth gait I'd seen in Halley. "We have volunteers throughout the Louisville metro area, former patients who've completed their treatment and now help with the integration process. I was at Clearwater in 2019. Came in for a gambling problem. Left with a purpose. You're one of them. You're all one of them. We're a community," she corrected gently, "and you're going to be part of it too. Once you accept what you are, what you've always been." I turned and ran, or tried to. My ankle gave out after 3 steps, and I went down hard on the asphalt. The woman walked calmly toward me, in no hurry, knowing I had nowhere left to go. A car pulled up beside me, a dark sedan with tinted windows. The passenger door opened and someone inside said, "Get in. Now." I looked up and saw Jamie in the driver's seat, but his eyes were different now, clear, focused, alert. He leaned across and grabbed my arm, hauling me into the passenger seat with surprising strength. The door slammed shut, and he hit the gas, tires squealing as we pulled away from the woman standing in her driveway. "What the hell?" "Shut up and let me drive," Jamie said. He took a corner too fast, the sedan's tires protesting. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before they track this car. I had to disable the GPS, but they'll figure it out. You're with them. I saw you at intake. I was playing along." He glanced at me, and I saw fear in his eyes. Real human fear, not the empty compliance I'd seen before. "They called me 3 days ago. Told me to come to Clearwater, told me what to say, but I wasn't really there for treatment. I was there to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "About how big this is." He turned onto Bardstown Road, heading toward downtown, pushing the sedan 20 miles over the speed limit. Clearwater isn't the only facility. There are 17 others across Kentucky and Indiana, all running the same program, all harvesting patients, all feeding into a pharmaceutical distribution network worth billions. My head spun. "How do you know this?" "Because I tried to expose them 2 years ago." He pulled up his sleeve, showing me a series of injection scars running up his forearm. "I was a patient at their Lexington facility. Figured out what they were doing. Tried to go to the media. They caught me before I could get the story out. Brought me back in, ran me through 5 extraction cycles." "Then how are you here now?" "I escaped. Spent 8 months hiding, detoxing, trying to figure out who I could trust. Then I heard they were recruiting for Clearwater, and I saw your name on the application list." He looked at me, guilt written across his face. "Sam, I'm the one who got you into this. When we were together, when I got you hooked on Oxy, I didn't know what I was doing, but they did. They track everyone who's ever been dependent. Everyone who's got that neurochemical marker they need. They wait until you're clean, until you're vulnerable, then they pull you in. That's insane. No one could coordinate something that large. It's called the Waverly Initiative. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket and tossed it in my lap. Named after Waverly Hills, the tuberculosis hospital where they first developed the extraction process. After they perfected it there, they moved the operation underground. Funded by pharmaceutical companies who wanted something stronger than anything they could synthesize in a lab. He turned down a side street, killed the headlights, and parked behind an abandoned warehouse near the river. Everything's on that drive. Financial records, patient logs, internal communications, enough to bring down the entire network if you can get it to the right people. Why me? Why not just go to the police yourself? Because I'm already in the system. They've got documentation showing I'm delusional, paranoid, unreliable. I've tried 3 times to expose them, and each time I got labeled as a conspiracy theorist having a mental health crisis. He grabbed my shoulders, looking me directly in the eyes. But you're clean on record. New to the system. If you come forward with this evidence, if you can show what they did to you during your first week at Clearwater, you've got credibility. They'll come after me. They're already coming after you. He released me and pulled out his phone, showing me a news article from the Courier-Journal's website. The headline read, "Nurse reported missing after first week at local rehab facility." My own face stared back at me from the screen, a photo from my U of L graduation. "They reported you missing 4 hours ago," Jamie said. "Told police you walked out during your shift, seemed disoriented. They're setting up the narrative that you relapsed, that you're unstable. By the time they find you, they'll have you committed back to Clearwater for your own safety." I looked at the flash drive in my lap. What's on here that would convince anyone? Video footage from inside Ward D financial transfers, showing pharmaceutical companies paying millions to shell corporations connected to Clearwater, and a list of every staff member who's been converted, including 3 Louisville Metro police officers and a judge in Jefferson County. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "We know where you are. The building you're hiding behind has cameras. Come back voluntarily and we'll make this easy. Keep running and we'll make it hurt." Jamie saw my face. "They're tracking your phone. We need to move now." "Where?" "If they've got police and judges." "The media. I've got a contact at WLKY who's been investigating patient abuse at healthcare facilities. She's agreed to meet us at the station. But we have to get there before sunrise, before Clearwater's people can shut it down." He started the car again, but before he could pull out, headlights appeared at both ends of the alley. We were boxed in. 2 dark sedans, identical to the one we were sitting in, blocking both exits. The doors opened, and staff members stepped out. I recognized Dr. Brighton, Hallie, and Tom, but there were others I'd never seen before, all moving with that synchronized grace, all wearing those perfect smiles. Dr. Brighton approached our car and knocked on the window. Jamie's hand moved toward the gear shift, but Brighton held up a remote control and pressed a button. The sedan's engine died. "Override system," Jamie whispered. "All their vehicles have it. We're not going anywhere." Brighton opened my door. "Sam, you've caused quite a commotion tonight, but that's okay. First week jitters are common. Why don't you come back with us and we'll help you feel better?" I clutched the flash drive in my fist. "I know what you're doing. I know about the Waverly Initiative, and I'm going to expose all of it." "Oh, sweetie, She laughed, the sound hollow and echoing. You think you're the first person to threaten exposure. We've been doing this since 1949. We've survived investigations, lawsuits, media inquiries, because at the end of the day, no one really cares about addicts. No one really wants to know where their medication comes from. The system protects itself. She reached for me, and I saw that her fingernails were filed into points, stained brown at the tips. Now, she said, let's go home. Janie grabbed my hand. Don't get out of the car. But Dr. Brighton was already reaching in, her fingers wrapping around my forearm with a grip that felt like industrial wire. She pulled, and I felt something pop in my shoulder as I was dragged from the passenger seat onto the wet asphalt. Careful with her, Hallie said from somewhere behind Brighton. She's due for extraction in 6 hours. We don't want bruising to compromise the sample quality. I looked up at the circle of faces surrounding me. 7 staff members, all wearing those smiles, all moving with that same coordinated rhythm like they were connected to a single nervous system. Behind them, I could see Jamie struggling with Tom, who had him pinned against the hood of the sedan. The flash drive, Brighton said, extending her hand. Give it to me, and we'll make the integration process easier for you. You'll barely feel the first extraction. I closed my fist tighter around it. Go to hell. She sighed, a sound like air escaping a punctured tire. That's disappointing. I was hoping you'd be reasonable. Most new recruits are once they understand the benefits. Free housing, steady work, no more cravings. After the conversion, you won't feel anything at all. Isn't that what every addict wants? To finally stop hurting? I'm not an addict. Your prescription records say otherwise. 3 bottles of oxycodone in the last year, filled at 3 different Walgreens locations. Classic pattern of someone trying to hide their dependency. We've been watching you for months, Sam. Ever since your U of L supervisor flagged your name after you missed clinical rotations and showed up to class looking like you hadn't slept. Dr. Patterson flagged me? She's part of the network. Brighton knelt down beside me, close enough that I could see the seams where her false teeth connected to her gums. We have recruiters at every nursing school in Kentucky. They watch for students with the right psychological profile. Trauma history, substance issues, financial stress. You hit all the markers. Perfect candidate for the program. Someone grabbed my hair from behind, yanking my head back. I saw Hallie standing over me with a syringe in her free hand, the needle catching streetlight. This will make transport easier, she said. It's a light sedative. You'll stay conscious, but you won't fight. Most patients find it quite pleasant. The needle came toward my neck. I twisted, trying to break free, and felt several strands of hair rip from my scalp. The pain was sharp and clarifying. I brought my elbow up hard into Hallie's stomach, and she stumbled back, surprised. For a moment, I saw something flash across her face. Not pain, but a kind of confused recognition, like she'd forgotten what being hit felt like. I scrambled to my feet and ran for the gap between 2 staff members. Made it 3 steps before someone tackled me from behind. We went down together, my face scraping against concrete, the flash drive skittering from my hand and disappearing into a drainage grate. No! Brighton's voice, sharp and angry for the first time. Retrieve it. Now! 2 staff members dropped to their knees, reaching into the grate. But the gap was too narrow, the drainage pipe too deep. I could hear the flash drive rattling down through the darkness, tumbling away into Louisville's ancient sewer system. Brighton stood over me, and her smile was gone. That was a mistake. We needed that drive to identify everyone Jamie gave copies to. Now, we'll have to do this the hard way. She nodded to Tom, who was still holding Jamie against the sedan. Tom reached into his coveralls and pulled out something that looked like a modified taser, But wrong. Instead of 2 prongs, it had 7 thin needles arranged in a circle. "This is what we use for forced extractions," Brighton said, "when patients resist the chair. It stimulates the neural pathways directly, producing the same neurochemical cascade in about 30 seconds. The pain is extraordinary. Most people's minds break after the first dose." Tom pressed it against Jamie's neck. Jamie screamed, his body convulsing, back arching so violently I heard something crack. The device made a sound like a dental drill mixed with a mosquito's whine. After 15 seconds, Tom pulled it away, and Jamie collapsed. His eyes rolled back, mouth leaking drool and blood. "Your turn," Brighton said. I tried to crawl away, but hands grabbed my ankles, my arms, lifting me off the ground. They carried me toward one of the dark sedans, and I saw that the trunk was open, lined with plastic sheeting. This is how they transported the ones who fought back, the ones they had to break before bringing back to Ward D. A gunshot split the night. Everyone froze. The staff members holding me dropped me, turning toward the sound. At the mouth of the alley, a Louisville Metro police cruiser sat with its lights off, and a figure stood beside it, holding a service weapon pointed directly at Dr. Brighton. "Let her go," the officer said. A woman, middle-aged, with graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Step away from both of them. Now." Brighton's smile returned. "Officer Mendez, I didn't expect to see you here. Aren't you supposed to be on duty in Shively tonight?" I was. Mendez kept the gun steady. "Until I got a call from someone at WLKY saying 2 people were being hunted by Clearwater staff. Thought I'd check it out personally." "You're making a mistake," Brighton said. "These 2 are patients who escaped during the mental health crisis. We're simply trying to return them to care." "That's interesting," Mendez said. "Because the woman on the ground has a valid nursing license and no documented history of psychiatric admission. And the man you just assaulted has filed 3 police reports about Clearwater in the last 2 years. Reports that mysteriously disappeared from the system." Brighton's expression didn't change, but I saw the other staff members shift their positions, forming a loose semicircle around Mendez. 7 of them against 1 officer with a gun. The math didn't look good. "You can't save them," Brighton said. "Even if you take them to the station, we'll have them released within hours. We have judges, prosecutors, hospital administrators. The system works for us because we make it work. Where do you think the city gets funding for its drug rehabilitation programs? Where do you think the pharmaceutical companies source their newest addiction medications?" "I don't care." Mendez fired a warning shot into the air. I said, "Step back." Tom moved first, that modified taser in his hand. Mendez shot him in the chest. He went down hard, but got back up almost immediately, the bullet hole in his coveralls leaking something dark and viscous that didn't look like blood. He kept coming, shambling forward like a machine that didn't understand it should be dead. Mendez fired again. Headshot this time. Tom's skull snapped back, but his body stayed upright, hands still reaching forward. I could see through the exit wound. There was nothing inside his head, but that same dark fluid, thick as motor oil. "What the hell are you people?" Mendez whispered. "We're what comes after," Brighton said. "The pharmaceutical companies didn't just want our research. They wanted us, the staff who'd proven we could survive the conversion. We're the next evolution. No pain, no pleasure, no doubt. Just purpose. And right now, our purpose is to bring Sam back to Clearwater." The other staff members rushed Mendez together. She got off 3 more shots before they took her down. I heard her screaming, heard the sounds of struggle, then heard something wet and tearing. When the staff members stepped back, Mendez was still alive, but barely. They'd used that needle device on her, and her eyes stared at nothing, mouth opening and closing like a fish drowning in air. Brighton turned back to me. "Into the trunk. We've wasted enough time." Hands grabbed me again, lifting me toward the open trunk. I thrashed and kicked, but there were too many of them, their grips too strong. I was halfway into the trunk when I heard an engine roar. Jamie's sedan slammed into the side of Brighton's car, metal shrieking against metal. The impact threw the staff members holding me backward. I landed hard on the asphalt, stars exploding across my vision. Jamie leaned out the driver's window, his face streaked with blood, but his eyes clear. "Get in. Now." I limped toward the passenger door, my injured ankle screaming. Behind me, the staff members were already recovering, getting to their feet, turning in unison toward the sedan. Brighton's face had split open from the impact, but nothing came out except more of that dark fluid. She smiled with her broken face. I threw myself into the passenger seat. Jamie hit the gas before I could even close the door, and we rocketed out of the alley, leaving the staff members behind. "They killed that cop," I said, my voice shaking. "She's not dead. Not yet." Jamie took a corner at 60 miles per hour, the sedan's tires howling. "They'll take her back to Clearwater. Start her conversion. In a month, she'll be one of them. We have to go back. We have to help her. We can't. The flash drive is gone. The evidence is gone. Our only chance now is to get to WLKY before they shut down the story." He looked at me, and I saw tears cutting tracks through the blood on his face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I got you into this." "Just drive," I said. Behind us, in the rearview mirror, I saw multiple pairs of headlights turn onto Bardstown Road. 7 cars, all moving in perfect synchronization, all coming after us. The hunt was still on. Jamie pushed the sedan past 80 on the Watterson Expressway, weaving between the sparse 3 a.m. traffic. Behind us, the 7 cars kept pace, moving in formation like starlings, never falling back, never getting closer, just following, waiting for us to make a mistake. "WLKY is on the other side of the river," Jamie said, yanking the wheel to avoid a semi. "West Broadway, near Shawnee Park. If we can make it there, if we can get inside the station, they can't touch us, not with cameras rolling. They'll just say we're having a mental health crisis," I said, watching the headlights in the mirror. "Like they did with Mendez, like they'll do with anyone who tries to expose them. Not if we broadcast live." He pulled something from his jacket pocket, another flash drive. I made copies, 3 of them, gave one to my contact at WLKY, mailed one to the Courier Journal, and hid one in the WLKY parking lot inside a fake rock near the back entrance. Even if they stop us, even if they convert us, someone will find it. A car sideswiped us from the left lane. Not one of the Clearwater vehicles, a civilian driver who'd probably been texting. We spun, tires smoking, and slammed into the concrete barrier. The sedan's front end crumpled, steam hissing from under the hood. The engine sputtered and died. Jamie tried to restart it. Nothing. Come on. The 7 cars stopped in a line across the expressway, blocking all 3 lanes. Doors opened in unison. Staff members emerged, 14 of them now, more than had been in the alley. Some I recognized. Others were new, their movements just as synchronized, their smiles just as perfect. Dr. Brighton walked toward us, her broken face somehow repaired in the 20 minutes since Jamie had hit her with the car. The split skin had sealed itself, though the seams were visible in the streetlight, like she'd been badly stitched together. "You don't have to run anymore," she said through the shattered windshield. "We'll make this quick. Painless. Better than what you're facing if you keep fighting." Jamie grabbed my hand. Through the fence. The side of the expressway. If we can get down to the street level, we can lose them in the neighborhoods. "My ankle!" "I'll carry you if I have to." He kicked open his door and pulled me after him. We ran for the concrete barrier and scrambled over, dropping 10 feet down to a chain-link fence. Jamie ripped a section open with his bare hands, the metal cutting into his palms, and shoved me through. Below us, I could see Russell, the neighborhood streets dark and empty, row houses with barred windows and sagging porches. Behind us, the staff numbers climbed over the barrier with that same eerie coordination, moving together like they shared a single mind. They didn't hurry. They didn't need to. They knew we couldn't run forever. We hit the street and Jamie turned left, pulling me down an alley between two abandoned buildings. My ankle throbbed with every step, bone grinding against swollen tissue. I was slowing us down, and the staff members were getting closer. "Go without me," I gasped. "Get to WLKY. Tell them everything." "Shut up and keep moving." We emerged onto West Broadway, and I saw the WLKY building 3 blocks ahead, its broadcast tower blinking red against the pre-dawn sky. So close. But between us and the station, a line of dark sedans was already forming, blocking the street. "They knew where we were going," Jamie said. "They've been hurting us." I looked around desperately for another route, another option. That's when I saw it. A 24-hour gas station across the street, lights blazing, an attendant visible through the window scrolling on his phone. Witnesses, cameras, documentation. "There," I said, pointing. "If we can get inside, if we can make them come after us where people can see." We ran for the gas station. The staff members followed, no longer bothering to hide their true nature. They moved wrong now, joints bending backwards, heads turning too far on their necks. One of them, Tom, his ruined face catching the fluorescent light, scuttled on all fours like a spider, using his arms and legs in ways human limbs weren't designed for. The gas station door chimed as we crashed through. The attendant looked up, confused, and I saw he was young, maybe 19, wearing a U of L shirt. "Call the police," I shouted. "Call them right now. Tell them people are being held at Clearwater Rehab against their will. Tell them about Ward D and the body chute." He stared at me like I was speaking another language. "Lady, I don't..." The staff members came through the door, 14 of them cramming into the small space between the shelves and the counter. The attendant's confusion turned to terror as he saw their faces, saw the way they moved. "What the hell are those things?" "Film them," Jamie said, pulling out his phone. "Everyone film. Put it online. Show people what Clearwater really is." I grabbed the attendant's phone off the counter and started recording. The staff numbers didn't stop us. They couldn't, not with cameras running, not with potential witnesses. Instead, Dr. Brighton stepped forward, and when she spoke, her voice came out layered, multiple tones speaking at once. "You're broadcasting evidence of your mental breakdown," she said calmly. "By morning, this footage will be explained as 2 addicts having a shared psychotic episode. The young man filming will be compensated for his trauma. The gas station will receive a settlement to cover damages, and you'll both wake up in Ward D, strapped to chairs, beginning your first extraction." "Except we're not crazy," I said, keeping the camera steady. "And we have proof. Multiple copies of evidence showing what you've been doing for 75 years. The Waverly Initiative, the pharmaceutical companies funding it, the staff members you've converted from patients. all of it documented. Brighton's smile faltered for the first time. "You're bluffing," she said. "We retrieved the flash drive. We tracked Jamie's communications. We know he only had one copy." "He's a former IT specialist," I lied, praying Jamie would play along. "He uploaded everything to cloud storage before he ever came to Clearwater. Scheduled to auto-release to 50 media outlets if he doesn't enter a password every 12 hours. He's already missed 2 check-ins." Brighton's head tilted, considering. Behind her, the other staff members stood perfectly still, waiting for her decision. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Jamie's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Got your email. Story goes live in 10 minutes. WLKY." Brighton saw the screen. Her face twisted into something that wasn't quite human anymore, the false skin pulling away to reveal the dark machinery underneath. "You've destroyed everything. 75 years of research, billions in pharmaceutical development, all because you couldn't accept your purpose." "Our purpose isn't to be harvested," I said. "It's to stop you." She lunged at Jamie, moving faster than anything human could move. But the gas station attendant was faster. He grabbed a fire extinguisher from behind the counter and brought it down on Brighton's head. The impact shattered her skull, and that dark fluid sprayed across the floor. She collapsed, twitching, her body trying to repair itself, but failing. The other staff members surged forward. We ran for the back exit, the attendant following, his phone still recording. Behind us, I heard the staff members tearing through the gas station, knocking over shelves, their synchronization breaking down into chaos. We emerged into the alley behind the building. Jamie pointed to a small Honda motorcycle chained to a dumpster. "Can you ride?" "Not well." "Good enough." He pulled a rock from his pocket and smashed the ignition, hot wiring it in seconds. "Get on." The 3 of us somehow squeezed onto the bike, me behind Jamie, the attendant behind me. Jamie gummed the engine, and we shot down the alley, emerging onto a side street just as dawn began to break over the Ohio River. We made it 2 blocks before I smelled smoke. Turning around, I saw flames rising from the direction of Dixie Highway. Orange light reflected off the low clouds, growing brighter by the second. "Clearwater's burning," the attendant said, still filming with his phone. "Holy shit, the whole building's on fire." Jamie smiled grimly. "I might have left something combustible in Ward D when I escaped. On a timer, set to go off at dawn." We watched from 3 blocks away as Clearwater Rehab collapsed in on itself, flames consuming 75 years of suffering and research. Fire trucks screamed past us, too late to save anything. In my pocket, my phone buzzed continuously. News alerts, social media notifications, messages from numbers I didn't recognize. The story was breaking. WLKY was broadcasting. The evidence was spreading faster than Clearwater could contain it. But as Jamie drove us toward the rising sun, heading away from the burning building and the chaos behind us, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Brighton had mentioned 17 other facilities, 17 other Clearwaters operating in other cities, harvesting other patients, feeding the same pharmaceutical machine. We'd won this battle. We'd exposed one facility. We'd saved the patients who remained. But the war was far from finished. The WLKY broadcast went viral within hours. By the time the sun fully rose over Louisville, every major news outlet was running the story. The gas station footage showed everything. The staff members moving with that synchronized horror, Dr. Brighton's face splitting open to reveal machinery underneath, Tom crawling on all 4s. You couldn't fake that. You couldn't explain it away as a shared delusion or camera tricks. The FBI raided what remained of Clearwater by noon. They found Ward D mostly intact beneath the rubble, the extraction equipment still functional, patient records going back to 1949. They found 18 patients in various stages of conversion, including Marcus and Angela. Most could still be saved. Some couldn't. Officer Mendez was found strapped to an extraction chair, the process only 20% complete. The doctors said she'd recover, but she couldn't remember her own daughter's name anymore. Jamie and I spent 6 days being interviewed by federal agents. They didn't believe us at first. Who would? But the physical evidence backed up every impossible claim. The modified staff members they'd captured had that dark fluid instead of blood. Their bodies showed signs of augmentation that no current medical science could explain. And the pharmaceutical company's financial records revealed shell corporation funding that traced directly back to the Waverly Initiative. 17 other facilities were raided simultaneously. Most of the staff escaped before federal agents arrived, vanishing into the network of safe houses and front companies that had protected this operation for decades. But the patients were freed. Over 400 people, some who'd been trapped in the system for years, finally went home. I testified before a congressional committee about what I'd experienced. Jamie testified too, though he could barely speak without breaking down. The attendant from the gas station became an unlikely hero, his footage viewed over 50 million times. His U of L shirt sparked a whole meme about Cardinals fans fighting actual monsters. But I can't sleep anymore. Every night, I lie awake thinking about Dr. Brighton's last words before the gas station attendant smashed her skull. About how we destroyed 75 years of research. About the billions in pharmaceutical development. About the network that had protected them for so long. Because the people funding the Waverly Initiative didn't get arrested. The pharmaceutical executives who'd paid for the extracted suffering, they walked away clean, protected by corporate structures and plausible deniability. Some mid-level managers took the fall. A few congressmen who'd accepted campaign donations resigned quietly. But the real architects of this system remained untouched. Last week, Jamie sent me a news article. A new rehabilitation facility opening in Indianapolis. Modern treatment methods, cutting-edge pharmaceutical research, specialized care for long-term addiction cases. The building used to be a hospital, built in the 1940s. The staff photos showed people with perfect smiles and perfect teeth. The company name was different. The location was different. But the logo, a subtle pattern of interconnected circles, was identical to what Angela had drawn on her wall at Clearwater. They're rebuilding, adapting, learning from their mistakes. Jamie wants to investigate, wants to expose them again. He's already making plans, reaching out to local journalists, preparing to go undercover if necessary. Part of me knows he's right. We can't let them start over. We can't let more people suffer the way Marcus and Angela suffered. But another part of me just wants to forget. Wants to move on. Wants to believe that burning down one facility was enough. I'm writing this down because I need people to know the truth. If something happens to me or Jamie, if we disappear while investigating the Indianapolis facility, someone needs to continue the fight. The Waverly Initiative isn't gone. It's just sleeping, waiting for the attention to fade, waiting for people to forget. Because that's what they're counting on. That's what they've always counted on. Nobody really cares about addicts. Nobody really wants to know where their medication comes from. But we proved something when we burned Clearwater down. We proved that monsters can bleed, that networks can be exposed, that even systems designed to be invisible can be dragged into the light. The fight isn't over, but at least we won this battle.